Hello, Reds. Welcome back to another episode of Liverpool Latest. And you know what I love about doing these videos daily is that one day I look like a disheveled mess, like the last video with the beard and the hair all long, and then today I come to you like a normal human being. With that being said, I have a couple of things I would like to talk about today. Some of them involving some articles that David Ornstein discussed, some talking points that I would like to touch on that I would like to get your opinions on as well when you leave a comment down below and like the video and subscribe to see more. Nice little nice little transition there. But first and foremost, this first segment is kind of like a little bit mislabeled, mostly because I didn't really know how to interpret it at first when I put this together. So, what Ornstein says in an article that he released earlier today in regards to Liverpool's January transfer window, um, I was under the impression at first that it sounded like that slot was, exposed. Liverpool won't sign anybody or can't sign anybody. They're going to gamble or they're gambling recklessly by not signing anybody. But as I kind of looked into it just a little bit more, and I admit I jumped the gun again with this little headline here, but what I really realized what it was saying was that we're going to be a little quiet in the January window because not because of an injury to Connor Bradley, but because we're focusing on more long-term recruitment. And it seems like that's been evident by the last couple of signings we had with these young gentlemen who I've talked about in the last week who are planning to or signing already with Liverpool. Which is kind of surprising because I wanted to talk about this yesterday and I couldn't really find an angle for it. And now that this article by Ornstein came out where he's kind of discussing his angle on it, it kind of makes sense because I was under the impression that Bradley's injury might possibly force a couple of moves for Liverpool in this window. And it seems like that hasn't really happened yet, which that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you ask. But it seems like they have enough depth in the right back position to manage, not necessarily abandon it entirely. I mean, after all, Frimpong has been in the position plenty of times since coming back from injury, even scored in yesterday's FA Cup match. So that's a good sign in itself. Gomez, if he can stay healthy, is always going to be an option at right back. I don't care what anybody says. And Ramsey hasn't really played a whole lot. He's a depth tool, yeah, but he's not necessarily our go-to panic button pick if we want to establish a name on that side with him. So it really more comes down to the fact that we're not going to make any reckless signings because Slot, regardless of whether you like him or not, I have a love-hate relationship with the man, and I am very much behind the slot-out rhetoric here on the channel as it stands right now. With that being said, the one thing I could compliment Slot on is that when he tries to solve a problem, he tries to solve it with structure, not necessarily with chaos. I guess that's the Dutch in him. Makes complete sense if you ask me. It's more about trying to be flexible but still maintain the core values of what he's trying to do with the club. He's more than comfortable redeploying roles if need be, and he doesn't need specialists for every single position. Luckily we have a few players that can kind of change roles if need be, which is a good thing. Not a lot of them, but it's enough for right now. Essentially, the club, being Liverpool, is basically telling Slot, show us how you adapt to these issues, and we'll back you if the logic holds. And let's be honest, they've been doing that all season. Because if they hadn't been doing that all season, Slot would have been gone by like November. Hell, even December after the Mo Salah incident, right? So, regardless of whether we agree with this philosophy or not, for now, it's kind of smart. I still want to very much get Guéhi. I think Guéhi is going to be a big piece for us to pick up. It's now the 13th of December, and yet no news on the subject has been brought up outside of anything I've talked about. There's been no. All I keep seeing is Guéhi wants to sign for Liverpool, or Guéhi has options between City and Liverpool, so on and so forth. So I'm becoming a little bit more afraid. Do I consider Guéhi to be a panic button? A little bit, because we really need some depth on a couple of positions that we are very much exposed on. And I think doing that will help us in the long run as far as trying to push towards other ordeals like the Champions League or the FA Cup. But that's a risk that I personally would be willing to take. I think success comes with risk, and risk does not come, or reward does not come without some risk. So that is my personal opinion on the matter. All that matters right now as far as Liverpool goes is that regardless of what's going on with the transfer window, whether we're going to be quiet or not, or whether we're going to do any reckless signings because of the injuries we've had, it seems like no matter what, Slot's job security is basically rooted in trust and patience with the club because they clearly believe what he's selling them. And I don't mean selling in terms of a bad connotation, but he's clearly giving them a plan for the future, or at least the immediate future for the team, and we'll see how it holds up. Do I have much hope? I can't really tell you whether I have hope or not at this point. I'm the wrong guy to ask, but I will tell you that as I watch in real time, I will tell you whether I agree with his ideas or not. Such as the idea, which is another Ornstein take, mind you, of Konaté not signing a new contract yet. So it seems as though, and I saw a post from Anfield Edition on Twitter stating from Ornstein that Konaté is on track to exit Liverpool in the summer, which does not shock me. There has been little to no breakthrough whatsoever in regards to Konaté and his camp trying to make a deal with Liverpool. At this rate, I am more content to see Konaté be gone than I am hoping he would stay. I say that because for the most part of the season, he's been a very big liability. I think maybe they're just kind of keeping things under wraps, possibly to prevent his mindset from going elsewhere besides the pitch. But at the same time, now that the whole Real Madrid saga has kind of brutally shut, that chapter, which was hilarious and sad for Konaté all in one. I feel like if he wanted to sign, he would have done so already. That's the end-all, be-all on the subject. Whether or not they're keeping it a secret or not, I have no idea. Because I'm not in these talks. Neither is anybody else. And even these reporters, they could say whatever they want, but we don't really fully know what's going on until the club makes an official statement on the matter. And it looks to be that it's not looking good. It is not looking good because the fact that, once again, we are only a few months away from the end of his contract and yet a new deal has not been inked yet is troublesome, to say the least. At the same time, the same situation was going on with Virgil and Mo Salah a few years ago, where we had no idea if they were going to stay with the club, and lo and behold, they inked new deals, and Trent was the last of the big three to not ink a deal, and lo and behold, we know where that led us. And I'm of the belief that Konaté is going to be, not necessarily in the Trent camp in the stance where he's going to leave for a rival club, but he certainly will be gone by the summer, whether anybody wants that or not. Um, this is why I'm so adamant about the Gahey thing, because who else are we going to have along besides Virgil at that point? And even then, Virgil's getting older. He's been a little bit iffy at times this season. We need to start building up the center backs a little bit more, because our defense, as shaky as it is, we're going to need it. So I'm trying to hold out hope that they're going to make the right decision, and whether or not they stall a little bit in January and wait for the summer for any big signings is yet to be known or seen. But I'm kind of pulling through here, and I'm hoping each and every day that I make these videos and I read the news and I try to keep track on things as much as I can, that the club will make the proper decision. And I hate the idea of trust the process or let things play out and everything happens for a reason. It's nothing more than BS in my humble opinion. The whole everything happens for a reason. But I am inclined to believe right now that however it's supposed to be will be, and we are just going to have to put up with it as fans. And we can only hope that the right decision is going to be made. Let's talk about Jeremy Frimpong, shall we? What I did not know, and I'm pretty sure he's already had his first goal as a Liverpool player, and if it was so long ago that I genuinely do not remember it. That said, the most recent goal he had against Barnsley in the FA Cup was his first goal at Anfield, which I'm sure was a very, very special thing for him, which is even more important because it was his first real attacking goal and payoff since coming back from injury. And as we all know, him being sidelined with an injury for a few months during that rough period we had we were kind of exposed a bit. I'm glad he's healthy now for Frimpong, because clearly he's become an asset on the pitch. I don't know about you guys, but when I watch Frimpong with the ball and I watch him running for routes on the wings and things of that nature, when I watch him try to press, I am very much impressed with what I see. I am. He's clearly one of the harder workers on the field, if you ask me, for his position and what's been asked of him. And I think a lot of people kind of question what was going to happen with the right back position, because Trent had such big shoes to fill when he left. Or there were such big shoes to fill with Trent, I should say, when he had left. But if you ask me, Connor Bradley, he was all right. Gomez, he was all right. And as of it stands right now, Frimpong has probably been my favorite pick outside of Szoboszlai. But I prefer Szoboszlai much more as a midfielder than I do as a full-blown right back. So Frimpong being in that position, I've enjoyed. As a matter of fact, I think those two actually pair up quite well together when it comes to creating routes and creativity, when it comes to setups for goals. And clearly, Szoboszlai is basically the reference point for the team when it comes to, or at least one of those references for the team when it comes to creating opportunity for a goal. And the fact that the teammates see him as a standard helps, because clearly him and Frimpong are on the same track, and it seems to mesh up very well on the field, as I've seen as of recently. So I think this has been a big deal. I think this is going to be very good for Frimpong. I think he should look at that goal with a lot of positivity, as if he hasn't already, from some of the quotes I have read. And it's important that he keeps up that momentum, because let's be honest, we don't really have a lot of options. If you ask me, if I was to name like my top three right now, as far as the right back position goes, it's probably Frimpong. Szoboszlai could be changed between 1 and 2 depending on what's being asked of him for that game. But if I wanted a dedicated right back, I would pick Frimpong. And just because of what I've seen recently on the pitch, I think he's probably the best in that role right now. And losing him for as long as we did was certainly hurting us. But we are, it seems like we're sort of getting back into the back into the swing of things. Obviously, no structural issue that we have is going to be fixed overnight, but performances like Frimpong's and Szoboszlai's, for that matter, are should bring confidence to not just the system in itself, but all of the players within that system and the coaching staff. So, if you ask me, Frimpong should be the absolute focal point of the right back position. He should not be a rotational player in that position whatsoever. I think, again, this goes off my opinion of what I've seen. When I watch the game and I see what Frimpong does, I find his play as well as a few others, to be more impactful. And I'm going to stick to that. You can sue me in the comments section all you want, but this is just my subjective opinion. That is all I have to say. Speaking of goals, Frimpong was one of, quote-unquote, 4 beautiful goals that Slot so eloquently said after the Barnsley match in the FA Cup. And there is an article that kind of discusses why he kind of called it that. And it seems as though the take that I would like to go about it is that he feels, as in Slot, that the goals are not just celebrations, but they're solutions to a recurring structural problem, as he has acknowledged in several interviews after this match. He touches on how, anytime that he mentions any of the problems we've been having, he always goes on and says we, which is, I think, very important. It goes to show that he's not blaming anybody in particular. And I know this is very much a pro Slot video, but I will say some of the things I was reading and some of the interpretations that I'm having from it, he seems to be a little bit more self-aware this time around of what needs to be done now that we've had a win like this. It's good to be honest about some of the issues we've been having with concession, especially early in the games. And it's not just a him thing. It's a team thing. It's a mindset thing. It's not a talent deficiency issue. And I believe that I think he believes that if we could continue off of this momentum, things will hopefully get better for us in the Premier League as well as the Champions League. And I think he feels a little bit more in control now with the process. I mean, after all, regardless of how you feel about it, we are on a unbeaten run, which, again, regardless of how you feel about it, it's still technically a fact. Do I think how we're winning these games or how we're having this unbeaten run is incredibly boring? Yes, but that also comes from the type of football we're playing. So I believe he has to, I don't think just scoring goals is enough. I mean, the fact that we have to score goals in the first place is where we're really having our trouble. So yes, I did mention in yesterday's game how I believe that the game flowed much better. Again, I only saw highlights, but from what I saw in those highlights, it seemed like chances were becoming a little bit more often than what we have seen. The low block issue was slowly but surely becoming a little bit more worked around, and we were able to score those 4 goals. And the only reason why Barnsley scored in the first place was because of a massive brain fart from Dominik Szoboszlai. So I think it's important that to think of that 4 beautiful goals is not necessarily a sentimental idea, as it is almost a looking at it from a tactical point of view. So, I mean, we were doing a lot of great job on the 1v1s and the isolation in that. The combinations between, Ekitike, Wirtz, Jones, all of that was great. And I know it's one game and it's a game against a much, much more inferior opponent. But as long as Slot kind of keeps to this mindset, I feel like we are going to be in a little bit more of a better position for the foreseeable future of this season. Um, I think, and the other problem that I have with this, and I feel, again, I am kind of in this in between of complimenting Slot and shitting on him, and I'm kind of like having this moral dilemma as I do this video, because frankly, there's some aspects here that Slot is not wrong about, and I have to put aside my own personal dislike for some of the things that he's done and look at it from an objective point of view. And I'm doing that right now. And it looks like, as of right now, everything I've been talking about is kind of reinforcing Slot's standing with the team and his mindset of what we should be doing. Do I think the team needs to be more creative and make more opportunities instead of passing around in this monotonous, slow sludge of a way of a play style that he's creating this season? Absolutely. They gotta find a way to fix that. If they could just fix that part, I feel like we'll be able to pick up momentum a little bit more. And of course, that comes with selections from the starting 11 as well, which also plays just as much of a factor as anybody will tell you. But anyway, that's really all I have to say about everything I've talked about in today's video. I would like to kind of know what you think about the situation down in the comments section below about anything I've touched on. Yeah, leave a like as well, and subscribe on the channel if you want to see more. But I appreciate you being here, and because you're here, I wish you a very you'll never walk alone day. Does that even make sense? It will today. That's what I will say.